Hey guys, it's me, Ann, and this is Beauty with Me. Before we get started, please hit subscribe, little red button down below. If you don't know, Beauty with Me comes out every Monday at 11 a.m. on this channel. I tried 7 days of makeup trends earlier this year, and after reading all of your beautiful comments, I thought it would be a great idea to try a similar challenge, but using only $25 worth of drugstore makeup. I hopped over to the store, did a little bit of online shopping, and came up with a bunch of different makeup products. It comes out to $24.63, just under $25. Not gonna lie, it doesn't look like much. Drugstore makeup can get a little bit pricey. I had to really keep it minimal. Hopefully, this whole challenge will show you that drugstore makeup can be really glam and very versatile. I think we're gonna come up with some pretty cool looks this week. So follow along. So for day one of this challenge, I decided to ease into it with a monochromatic pink look that matches my hair. I started off with my base and applied the Wet n Wild concealer all over my face, under my eyes, around my nose, and blended that out. I skipped foundation this entire week, A, to keep my costs down, but also because I do often use concealer as foundation. Then I followed up with some of the e.l.f. HD powder all over my face to set my makeup, and then applied some blush, bronzer, and highlighter from the Rimmel palette. Then I followed up with some eyeshadow primer before adding a touch of the e.l.f. powder on my eyelids so that the blush that I'm going to use as my eyeshadow would apply more evenly. I didn't have a separate pink eyeshadow in my drugstore arsenal, so I used the blush from the Rimmel palette, dusted that all over my lid, and then put a little bit of the bronzer shade in my crease as a transition shadow. Then to finish off the eyes, I curled my eyelashes and applied a couple layers of the Wet n Wild mascara and added a bit of the pink blush on my lash line for a little bit of extra definition. And then to finish off the look, I used a little bit of the e.l.f. lipstick, which at first was a little bit difficult to work with straight out of the bullet. So I used it on my finger, warmed it up on my fingers, and tapped it into my lips as a stain. I really like this look. I think that when I typically do monochromatic pink looks, I like to use eyeshadows that are a little bit punchier, but I think for a day-to-day look, it was really pretty. I think it really complemented my hair. It was a really great daytime look. For the second day of the challenge, I kept things simple with just some very glowy skin and a punchy red lip. For the whole week, I used the same base, but this time I used a little bit of the highlighter on my eyes just to give my lids a little bit of iridescence, a little bit of bronzer in my crease, a bit of mascara. Then I finished off with a swipe of the Wet n Wild red lipstick, which is beautiful and really pigmented, felt really nice. The look itself is a little bit more on the natural side, but having that punchy red lip makes it a little bit more bold. For day 3, I decided to go with a little bit of a bronze smoky eye look using some of the shadows from my Wet n Wild palette. I went in with the e.l.f. eyeshadow primer all over my lid and a little bit on my lower lash line before going with a generous helping of the bronze eyeshadow. For a little bit of extra definition, I dusted a little bit of the deeper kind of greenish shadow in the palette on my upper and lower lash lines using a more dense pencil brush. Followed up with a little bit of mascara, a touch more bronzer, and finally a layer of lipstick. This was a fun look. I don't typically wear smoky eyes, but I liked it. It was a good daytime appropriate one. Definitely didn't veer too far into the smoky territory, so I think that if you want a daytime appropriate smoky eye that you can deepen up for nighttime, this was definitely it. Day 4 focuses on a very soft ombre lip. I did a nice crisp cat eye using the black Radiance liquid liner before moving on to the main event, which was the ombre lips. So I decided to do the red lipstick on the outer perimeter of my lips and then the pink lipstick in the center, kind of diffusing it out to make it look like it all blended together. I do think that this look would have been a little bit more long wearing if I had used liquid lipsticks rather than these satin finish lipsticks that I had, just because as I wore the lipsticks, I did find that the color started to melt together and ended up just kind of looking like a mixture of red and pink. You know, it didn't look bad, but it did lose its ombre quality throughout the day. Day 5 was probably my favorite look, a graphic wing that I created using the Wet n Wild palette. But I wanted to get more pigment out of this deeper kind of teal shade, so I decided to mix it with some water to create a paste-like consistency. I used an angled brush to take that, apply it to my lid, winging it out slightly, and then bringing it into my crease before filling it in. This was actually a lot easier than it looks, because it's really only one shade, and the most important part is making sure your lines are really crisp. Then I followed up with some mascara, some of the pink lipstick, and that was it. I got the most compliments on this look out of all of the looks this week, just because I think it's so fun and different. It's very crisp. And honestly, I was surprised that I was able to get that much pigment and maneuverability out of a drugstore eyeshadow that was like $3. So day 6 was kind of a version of day 1, but I decided to swap out the lipstick and do a little bit of red instead. This is actually inspired by, well, loosely inspired by a look that Lily Collins wore to the Golden Globes. So I started off with the same base as usual. Then I wet my eyeshadow brush and applied the same Rimmel blush as my eyeshadow. I applied a little bit of the black Radiance eyeliner, curled my eyelashes, slapped on some mascara, and put on my red lipstick. I love this look. I wear pink eyeshadow and red lipstick a lot. Again, I would have liked it if the blush was a touch more pigmented, but I do really like this color. All in all, I think the look came out really well. The 7th and final day of my 7 days of drugstore makeup challenge really only required one hero product. So this look is all about the eyes, inspired in part by dotted liner and by a floating crease, which is essentially a more modern, fresh take on a traditional 60s cut crease. A makeup artist on Instagram, her name is Anna Karen Hellborg. She does a dotted liner look really similar to this one. So what I did was I took the eyeliner and used a different brush. I used my BH Cosmetics number 10 eyeliner brush, dipped into the product, and created little dots along the crease of my eye. Not gonna lie, I struggled with this one. I do this look a lot, but I actually have an eyeliner that has an applicator with a rounded edge, so it makes it super easy to make circular dots. Doing this with a brush was a little bit more challenging, but after a few tries, I definitely got it to work. After dotting the liner on my crease on both eyes, followed up with some mascara and some lipstick as per usual, and went on my way. I absolutely love this look. I think this look and the graphic wing were definitely my favorites. I love experimenting with makeup in that way. And honestly, they don't really require that much product. And if you have the patience to pull it off, you can do it. Hi guys, so it has been 7 days since I have been using only this makeup. Although I liked a lot of the products, it was so limiting not being able to like reach for the glitter in my drawer or reach for a different color eyeliner. It did really challenge me to do different things with this makeup, and I was actually really surprised by how nice the looks came out, if I do say so myself. I hope that you guys liked them too. Definitely let me know in the comments which look was your favorite. So I think the first like hero product here was definitely the concealer. This Wet n Wild concealer corrector is so good. It is so beautiful. It doesn't have the best shade range, which isn't great, but if you do have a shade in this lineup, I would definitely try checking it out. And I just used this all over my face the entire week, and I really enjoyed it. I also really loved the Rimmel contour blush and highlight. The blush is beautiful. The contour, it's not too warm, it's not too cool. You can contour and bronze with it. The one pitfall I will say with this is the highlighter is very sheer, but overall it was lovely, pretty on the eyes too. Eyeshadow palette was really lovely too. The things that didn't really work, I will say that the Wet n Wild Megalength waterproof mascara, if you want something very natural, go for it. But for me, I need something with more volume. This lipstick though, I think that I didn't choose the right color. This is the e.l.f. lipstick in classy. It was too like frosty pale pink. In my opinion, didn't look amazing on me, but I was able to make it work. It did kind of accentuate dryness on my lips, but I will say that if you tap it on with a finger, it worked a lot better. The powder, I used the e.l.f. Under Eye Setting Powder as my all over face powder, and I think that it has a beautiful like brightening, smoothing effect, but it doesn't control oil as much as I would have wanted it to. So if you have like slightly drier skin, but you just want to set your under eye area, you want to set a little bit of your face, I think you'll probably like this. Last but not least of the things that I want to mention today, the Black Radiance Liquid Liner is really lovely. I'm not a huge fan of the brush. I find it a little bit too flexible. I like to apply it with my own brush. It's a little bit easier to work with. BH Cosmetics, it's the number 10 eyeliner brush. The actual pigment of this eyeliner though is beautiful. It's really easy to work with. It lasts a long time. So that is it. I hope that this showed you that you can spend $25 and get all of this makeup, and you can do a lot of different looks if you're creative with it. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if there are any other 7-day challenges that you think will be interesting to watch, and I will catch you guys next week. Bye. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Let me know what you want to see next on Beauty With Me in the comments down below, and click here to subscribe to Refinery29, and click here to watch another episode. Bye.